In this video, I'll be answering the question of what is the best month to invest your money. I've written some code to analyze historical data to see what your investment return would be if you invested on the first trading day of each month. So for example, if you invested $1,000 on the first trading day of January every year, then what would your investment return be after a few years? And then I do the same thing for all the other months, and then we can compare the results. I'm going to start by quickly going through the script I wrote and explaining what it does, and then we'll jump into the actual results. So right up here at the top is just a couple of comments, more so for myself, and just some instructions on downloading the script and running it. Here I have all of the libraries that I've imported. Then in this section I have the inputs. So in this case, we're going to be doing this analysis on the S&P 500. So the ticker is SPY. Total investment amount is 1,000. This could be whatever you want. And then the start and end date. So right now I have it set for a 1-year period. So July 28, 2022 to July 28, 2023. Here we just have some formatting stuff around the years and the start and end date that are needed for other functions. This function right here basically finds the first trading day of each month and gives us all the stock data for that. The reason for needing this is that you can't just look at January 1st of the month or the first of each month, because that might be a weekend or a holiday. So you have to find the first active trading day of each month. And then here we actually just start pulling the stock data. So based on the first trading day, we pull all of that data. We add in a couple of columns for the month names and the amount, the shares purchased, as well as we store the end closing price at the end of the time period so we know what we're comparing against. And then this whole section starting right here basically starts to create a data frame with all of the data that we want to look at. So the number of times that you've invested for each month, the total shares purchased, the total amount invested, the average share price, so if you've made multiple purchases, what's the average share price that you now have? The absolute dollar amount return, so if you invested $1,000 and you had a $100 return, your return would be the $100. And then here we have the percentage return, so if you invested $1,000 and you had a $100 return, you would have a 10% return. And then finally, we're just printing the results and then putting out a plot so it's easy to see what this looks like across all the months. And before we jump into the results, if you enjoy these kinds of videos and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, we'll go ahead and look at the results for the S&P 500. So as you can see here, I have the ticker SPY, and then for the first period, we're going to look at a 1-year time period. So on a 1-year time period, you would only make one investment per month. So we'll go ahead and run this script now. So as we can see here, this is the number of times you've invested. So 1 time for each month. The total number of shares purchased. So we're investing $1,000. So $1,000 divided by whatever the opening stock price was for that day for each of these months. The total amount invested, and then your average stock price. And then here's your actual returns that you would see in dollar value, but I'm going to mainly focus on the percentage return. So as you can see here, there's a good spread. The reason for this, if you look at July, this is the last month that you would have invested in, so it wouldn't have had as much time to actually change in stock price, whereas August would have been the first month you invested in and would have had a lot more time. Now, if we look at the results here on this graph, we can see that based on this, October had the best return of almost 26%. And then July had the worst return, again, most likely because it just had the least amount of time to be invested, of around 3%. Now, this 1-year data doesn't really paint the picture of what this would look like long term. So now we're going to go ahead and look at this for a longer time frame. We're going to look at it for 5 years. So again, this time, this is the equivalent of if you invested every first trading day in January for the last 5 years, here's how much you would have invested. Here is your total return, and then here's your percentage return. Here we can see that, there isn't a massive spread between the highest and lowest percentage. The highest percentage is October with 35%, and then the lowest percentage seems to be again July with the 26.53%. And if we look at this in a chart, here we can see October, November, and August seem to be some of the best months over a 5-year period, whereas July seems to be lagging quite a bit. Now we're going to go ahead and look at this on an even longer time frame. We're going to look at it on a 20-year time frame to see what that trend shows. Here we have the results for 20 years. So if I invested on the first trading day of January for the last 20 years, I would have $20,000 invested. And then here's what my total return would be, and then the percentage return. Here we can see the lowest percentage return seems to be June now at about 166%, and the highest return is October with 182% return. So about a 16% difference here is what we're seeing, which I guess over a 20-year period isn't that large. And then looking at the chart here, again, you can see things start to be relatively close over a 20-year period, but October still has the highest return with about 181 or 182%. Overall, it seems to be hard to say whether or not you should invest in a specific month. Over the long run, it doesn't seem like it makes that huge of a difference depending on what month you invest your money in. If you want to see a similar analysis for what's the best day of the week to invest your money, so for example, investing $100 every single Monday versus Tuesday versus Wednesday, etc., then check out my previous video. And if you have any questions or are interested in learning more about stock analysis and investing, leave your questions in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.